Hi, a very good afternoon to all of you, all the esteemed panelists, all the viewers or the guests who are watching this very important and a very relevant topic, which has been chosen by the Better India and the co-partners, wherein we are mentioning about how we all, as part of the society, how we can improvise our efforts towards improving the numbers, also as to say the statistics for the girl child education. And as an administrator, because I have worked in field, I very frankly believe that whether it is the issue of a girl child education, or whether it's the issue of her being married, or for that matter giving any kind of an independent decision making power or authority to a female, it is more so related to the society. It is actually ingrained in the way in which our societal ecosystem is prevalent today, and how is it progressing. So when you are talking about beyond social stigma and gender bias, we have to firstly understand that this is one of the most important issue. This is one of the most important factor which is still prevalent, if not say in cities or big towns, but it is still very much prevalent in rural parts of the country. It is very much prevalent in majority of our country, because India still is a rural nation. So when we are talking about the issue of girl child education, it is not only the bias or the stigma, but I would also like to relate it to three four major factors which are contributing to this issue. So one major important factor is also the financial or the economic status of the parents. And in a way, I have actually seen, when I was posted way back in say 2017-18 in district Jhajjar in Haryana, we could see some of the households, not all, but yes, some of the households wherein if the income sources are limited of the family, and so as to say if they have two or three kids and one is a boy and the other one is a girl, they would prefer sending the boy to a private school, and they might be sending the girl child to a government school. So this basically reflects the way educating a boy is so much important for the family, which in a way may not be that much important for a girl child. So I'm not saying this is prevalent at a very large scale, but yes, it still exists to an extent. So I think the economic condition, the poverty, or the economic status of family is also one aspect. Also, we have to understand that despite these financial conditions, even if the parents have that intention, or so as to say the mindset to send their girls to school, especially say class 9 onwards, there are various other issues which hamper to an extent the girl child attaining the education. So one of the issues may also be the connectivity. So the availability of schools as per the norms. As per, I can't recall the population criteria, but our SSA norms and the national education policy, we have a criteria that for this much number of population, you need to have a primary school, then secondary school, and a senior secondary school. So when we are talking about the education, especially in the secondary or a senior secondary level, the girl child may not be having an access in the terms that 4 or 5 kilometers, even 10 kilometers is a distance problem for which local transportation may not be available. So this connectivity, this transportation problem is also an issue. Also, I would like to associate it with the safe mobility. So, for example, if you don't have access to public transport, and if a child has to say travel on her cycle, bicycle, or go on foot, then for traveling through all this journey, parents also have this concern of security, the safety, and more so if it is say early morning hours, or if it is of course for some kind of tuition or some extra classes, if she's attending any other classes, or if she's late in the evening. So this is also one of the concern. And I would also like to mention that at this age, especially at the age of say when the girls become adolescents, Then the issue of having good hygiene facilities, toilet sanitation facilities in the schools, this is also one aspect which kind of hampers the some of the students to attend the school. So I think beyond when we are talking about this issue of girl child education, so social stigma, gender bias is of course one aspect, but we also need to understand the practical limitations in terms of connectivity, in terms of the logistic support, in terms of the infrastructure facilities available at the school level, also in terms of the safety concerns, and the way society deals. So we have seen the cases of eve teasing, the cases of various crime against girls being committed even today. And it is not only in the urban areas, they are very well being done in the rural areas also. So all these things are there. But of course, I would also like to say mention, because as part of administration, it is my responsibility to also mention here in the initiatives that there are various number of initiatives which are being taken by a government, especially the national education policy, which is aiming for improvising the enrollment ratio, the gross enrollment ratio, to 100% by the year 2030. So the national education policy is aiming to have a GER, gross enrollment ratio, of say 100% up to year 2030. They are also planning to have a gender inclusion fund, a GIF, a gender inclusion fund, wherein there would be a focus on probably more gender sensitive infrastructure in the schools, maybe separate toilet for girls and schools which are being maintained. We have seen that toilets are there, sanitation facilities are there, but then maintaining them, maybe the availability of the vending machines, the sanitary napkin vending machines. And we have seen how in various parts of the country, various organizations, civil society organizations, they have come forward. They have also helped in this aspect of improvising and addressing all these concerns. I would also like to mention, when I was in Jhajjar, we also got support from some organizations, and in fact for addressing the issue of menstrual hygiene amongst the adolescent girls, especially for the girls studying in the government schools. We had a collaborative approach wherein we used the funds which were available in the Sarv Shiksha Abhiyan, and we used them for making sanitary napkins through the self-help group women which were being supported under NRLM. So the women were getting trained under the NRLM, the National Rural Livelihood Mission, and they were utilizing their training and talent and skill for producing the napkins, and these were being supplied to the adolescent girls studying in government schools in the district. So this was a pilot project, but then it was scaled up to cover almost 9,000 adolescent girls from class 9 to 12. And when we had a study, because we had this study of the dropout rate before this project was initiated, and when this project was being implemented, there was regular study. So there was quite a positive and an encouraging response. So I think these are the collective efforts which we need to do, and it is not only the society which is responsible, it is also we as part of the ecosystem. We all need to contribute for improvising on all these concerns which are plaguing or which are acting as a hindrance in improvising the girl child education in our country. So as I am not directly related to the education field as of now, but yes, I worked as state project director way back in 2014 when I was posted in Tripura. So I would like to mention that it may not be a part of the compulsory curriculum. I mean, I'm not sure whether the government is planning to make it a part of compulsory curriculum. But yes, of course, under Sarv Shiksha Abhiyan, I clearly remember there was an emphasis on sensitization program, not only for the student but also for the teachers. So there was a provision for having teachers gender sensitization program, because we have seen that sometimes there are cases of so as to say abuse or mistreatment by the male teachers towards the female students. Even they have been reported, and maybe their kind of orientation towards the issues, towards the problems which the girl students are facing. So to have that gender sensitivity, that was, I remember, that was one of the component. And then of course, the teachers curriculum also, the teachers training curriculum also included the gender sensitive teaching, using the gender sensitive teaching material. So that was of course a part, but I am not very much sure whether the government is planning to do to make it as a part of a compulsory curriculum. But yes, of course, we have seen in as a matter of routine practice also, various state governments, in fact in Haryana also, there were instructions, there were advisories which were being issued from the state government, from the education department, for not only including the issues of gender sensitivity, but also of, say, crime against women, domestic violence, and also the issues of morality, sex education, the inclusion of awareness about the POSCO Act. So I have seen this kind of changes coming, and the government is also trying to include it in some way or the other. But I think it is also the part of the society to, so as to say, orient each other. It is not only that the women or the girls need to understand the nuances which are concerned with puberty, which are concerned with attainment of adolescent or adulthood, but also the male counterparts also need to understand. So I think it is both ways: the society, the family, the neighborhood, the civil society organizations, they also have that responsibility, and it is a kind of a behavioral change. See, anything would be sustainable only if it is adopted and accepted and owned by the society. So when we are talking about, so for example, the education for a girl, that education, statistics, enrollment numbers, they would only and only improve when there is this change in the behavior, the change in orientation and thinking by the society. Of course, there are some physical issues, physical infrastructure issues which are attached to it, but still in our country, I think it is more relating to the orientation, more relating to the mindset कि अगर हम लड़की को पढ़ा भी रहे हैं, ट्वेल्थ तक भी पढ़ा रहे हैं, उसके बाद उसके पास एम्प्लॉयमेंट अपॉर्चुनिटीज क्या हैं, so how does she relate it to her livelihood? So for that matter, we also need to connect this education to the employment. I think this is also one missing link, which we as part of planning at various levels, which we need to understand, that unless and until a female, a girl, a woman is financially independent or economically independent, she is not actually empowered, because she will not have that capacity or an independent kind of decision making authority, whether it is her family or in the household. So we also need to kind of link education with employment, skill training, maybe vocational training, and ensure that the girl, the female, the woman, she is actually able to utilize whatever she is learning for betterment of her own individual self, for the family, and for the society.